So Jan Emerton of Worldwide Consulting calling in from
Cheshire, to be precise, between Manchester and Liverpool, which is a place most people recognise for one thing or another, football or the Beatles or something.
Excellent. Well, as I shared with you, I like to do these interviews to help people see, what I see, and I've had the luxury of working with you for many years in many parts of the world, developing leaders. So something that I have a great passion for, and I think you have a great talent for. We're not spending time doing the things that we love to do, or that we were doing at least before the pandemic as much. How has that impacted what you see going on in leadership development?
Doing some workshops remotely, and it just does not replicate the experience of being in a room with people. It just does not. There's always a moment in those remote workshops where you think, I wish I was in the room now.
So when I think of the work that we've done together, I think of experiential learning, bringing, many different types of people together. We were working on multiple planes. Talk a little bit more about, how do you view the programs that we've done together?
We had a lot of fun. That's always high on my list of things that are important. Not just for us. I mean, we did, which was great. But the participants take away an experience. I mean, I think the first thing that I've learned through the many years I've been doing this is location, location, location. If you're doing, an offsite experience, you're taking people out of their normal comfort zone and environment. You've got to take them into a place that relaxes them enough for them to be open to learning. I always remember the first experience I had with kind of starting years ago, kind of 3-day, 4-day programs. And we ran one in an airport hotel at Charles de Gaulle with, triple glazing, horrible food. You couldn't go out because you were sucking diesel in because of the, planes were on the runway. And we were all, I was exhausted. I remember going home from that exhausted. I'm sure the participants were. The learning we were trying to achieve was completely compromised by the environment, the bad environment, the stress around you, people running for planes. And the next time I ran that program for that client, we did it in a place well, Brandon, and it's one of my favorite places on the entire planet. It's the Moulin de la Forge in northern France. 3 fantastic venues run by a wonderful family. It's a family business owned and operated. And, there's greenery, there's great natural spaces, there's water, there's lakes. There's simple, almost monastic rooms with no TVs in. There's communal spaces. And it gives people the room to think and the space to breathe. And it just fosters the right environment for learning. So if what you're saying, you want leaders, for me, leadership is about creating the environment in which everyone can flourish. If a leader can set that environment, then everybody flourishes. So you've got to take them somewhere where you permit that to happen. So location is one of the key things to achieve any learning objectives from leadership or any training. Don't overload it with information. Give people action learning. We're not talking about swinging from trees, but a highlight of the programs we've run together, the bridge, where it's a classic thing, right? You've got 3 sub-teams, you have to create a common project, and off they go, and a horrible client. That's usually me, because you're too nice to play a horrible client. I
was terrible. I was terrible at being the client.
Yeah, you're just far too reasonable, because the exercise is designed to kind of highlight that, we focus on our own silo. I mean, a lot of leadership objectives these days have got to be about seeing the bigger picture. In the pandemic, even more so. I think we'll come on to that later in the conversation, that you lose sight of the objective of what you're doing when you're so remote, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually from everybody else. But that exercise never fails to have people go, how could we make this mistake every time we do these exercises on these programs? We make this same mistake. If people take away 3 or 4 key aspects of how they can do things differently as a leader, how they can get that engagement, and we had a blast, but people learned a lot from having the conditions created that meant they could do that.
Yeah, I always thought it was amazing. Obviously, we designed it, so I wasn't surprised, but I did always catch myself at the end of the weeks just saying, we were able in a week to form pretty strong teams that genuinely know each other and have relationships. And we led participants from all over the world through a process of team formation in days that many teams struggle to achieve in quarters and years.
I think team formation is about giving people the opportunity to be vulnerable. And that means to kind of acknowledge how they are, how they like to work, how that might be different from everybody else. I mean, often people feel, you know, they come to us, don't they? Where's the recipe for the perfect team, the perfect leader? And no such thing exists. And that comes from allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to, you know, take responsibility for how you are and not apologize for it, but recognize that you're different. So if you start there, promote open dialogue, share insights about how people are different, give people that input, but then really get them into an experience where they reflect. That normally takes months just to get to the point of saying, here's somebody who's all about performance and I'm all about process. You know, there's somebody who's all about innovation and I'm all about production. So of course we're going to have conflict. So unless we can talk about that. So we kind of force fit people through this process of, you know, looking at the goals that they're trying to achieve together, use the roles they play inside and outside the team, challenge them on the effectiveness of the procedures, like, you know, are we really doing things the right way? And then how can we improve our relationships? Taking them through that classic forming, storming, norming, performing in a couple of days, but, you know, but by being provocative on occasion, you know, we've never shied away from that, you know, addressing the elephant in the room if it's an intact team and there's stuff we can't really talk about. You've got to talk about it. I don't think there's nothing complicated about it, but it's being quite deliberate about recognizing that until we address, you know, the unspoken things, and where people actually say, I can say things in this team that previously I couldn't. And that's all to the betterment of the team and the organization. Ultimately, it's that process of, you know, simple tools, give people a language to talk about difference, but make sure that they talk about the impact back at work of what that will mean.
Such a unique experience that we shared. I think that taking the time to do those things build lifelong relationships, and we hear that, you know, within the organizations, we hear that is like almost a rite of passage for someone's career, you know, going through that experience with you. So
what really struck me is your kind of breadth of perspective, you know, really, really good at that helicopter and looking at, you know, overall strategies, what we're trying to achieve here. There was nothing mechanistic. Straight away, we were into, you know, the philosophy of learning and how we can create the right environments. And you know, my heart just lifted because I just thought, what if I've got some technocrat? We were very complementary, you know, I mean, you know, you've got this really good OD background and I'm very much from the sort of interpersonal world. And I think it just met and worked really well. People come to leadership development sometimes looking for, right, how do I get to be that perfect leader? What's, you know, what give me the steps, give me the mindset, give me the behavior, give me the recipe for doing that. And of course it doesn't exist. And there's a lot about valuing difference in the work that I've always done, that you've really got to recognize there are many, many, many diverse characteristics that make excellent leaders. What they have to have is, you know, clarity of purpose and mission and a genuine desire to allow everybody to flourish. We've got to let go of the idea of a local team. I'm already seeing this happening because people now, we've made the shift. People can join teams from more or less anywhere. They don't need to dislocate their families anymore, anywhere near as much anyway. You know, organizations are going to benefit from that because they can get high talent from a variety of places. It does create a huge opportunity to create truly diverse teams and truly diverse organizations, which has been needed for a long time. And that is very exciting. You know, that's a real positive I see coming from this. Real diversity, I'm hoping we're going to see a lot more of.
The longer that we're working in this new way, the more it exposes the fact that I'm far more effective and efficient with people that I have experiences with than those that I don't. And you know, I understand their body language. You know, I'm able to interpret what's going on much more effectively. The new Onsite has a lot to learn from the old Offsite. I think that there are people who are really good at the old Offsite, things that we know how to do, people that know how to do them. And my, I guess, advice to organizations is when you bring people together for a purpose on site, it is different than how you met on site previously. How can we take what we know about doing great offsite experiences to make great on-site experiences going forward?
To sit in a room looking at a PowerPoint display with everybody else for 4 hours and then flying home. I mean, that, stop it. That's just not going to happen. What it does require, I think, is things we've been trying to evolve towards anyway. You've got to force people to prepare before a physical meeting to digest information. They're going to look at the PowerPoint or whatever else information is required and digest that in advance of the on-site meeting. And people are not keen on doing that. The meeting is the work. That's the mindset that has to change. No, the preparation is the work. The meeting is the opportunity to get on the same page about the work. If we choose the moments to meet that really add value, like you were saying, that would be a really good shift in the way that organizations approach things. But it's going to require discipline on, how we do things before and after the on-site meeting.
There is a certain saturation point for people when they come together. What are the things that you can only do in person? And really prioritizing those in your agenda and building in activities for people to have an emotional connection. That's going to be the part that is going to bond them, that's going to sustain you until the next time.
We focused on was storytelling, and I know this is something you're very passionate about, and you brought that into the program, and it's really powerful. When people had to tell their story, that was the other thing that freaked them out, because there's none of the normal kind of technocratic type of safety nets there. I've got to be raw and expose and talk about, something that's really impacted me, and then explain how that's made me the leader I am, and therefore what I want people to do to follow me. And those are always the best kind of talks, aren't they, at these big global conferences, when people speak from the heart. The stuff that I really enjoy is everything we did, the type of things we did together: leadership, team development, change management.
You're the only person that I've ever experienced it with, and it was so helpful for cross-cultural groups who are working together. Tell us about Offshore English.
Offshore English, yeah, okay. That's the language that everybody except native speakers speaks. So, somebody Japanese speaking to somebody Belgian speak offshore English. We, as native speakers, have the arrogance of, not thinking about how we speak. And we pepper our language with, expressions, with all kinds of difficult traps for people who haven't grown up with the same cultural references. So, we just have to really be careful as native speakers that we don't make that mistake. Americans always use sporting analogies, hit it out the ballpark, this sort of thing. We talk a lot about cricket as Brits, that's just not cricket. He's on a sticky wicket there. Nobody understands what that's supposed to be. And the biggest one of all for offshore English that non-native speakers are pleading for in every meeting and workshop where English is the language is speed. Please slow down. Please slow down. We tend to think as native speakers that, as long as I articulate properly, it'd be okay, but it's speed that's the killer every time. So